Hello everybody, my name is Williams, I'm from SEKAI Recruitment. In this particular video, what I would like to do is to touch on, I would say, a somewhat controversial topic, although a topic that is very intriguing if you ask me, and that is the topic of overemployment, topic of having more than one source of income via typical employment, let's just generally speaking. And without much further ado, let's get straight into things. So, what is overemployment? So, overemployment could be understood to various degrees of complexity, but for the sake of argument, I'm going to sort of define this forum regarding overemployment as working more than one job at the same time. Right, so I have my research on the screen in front of me. And yeah, so I reside here in the UK. My company, SEKAI Recruitment, is based here in the UK. And thus, SEKAI Recruitment is subject to, should I say, for lack of a better way of speaking, UK-based jurisdictions and the way HMRC sets up all their things. I had to go through Companies House, the typical things that any private limited company has to do, right? So some of the experience I'm going to be speaking about today is going to be based on UK-based companies. And as a little disclaimer, if your own endeavors, your own should I say work scope is in the US or maybe in the eastern regions of the world, some of the points I may speak about may not necessarily apply. It all kind of depends. So like this video is not official advice in any stretch or capacity, just a sort of an entertaining look at the topic of overemployment. So we're going to explore this idea, and we're going to explore how viable overemployment may be. Can an applicant, someone applying for work, generally speaking, be overemployed in the UK? Now, I have my Microsoft Copilot out. I asked Copilot, oh my gosh, I can't find the thought point. Here it is. Is it okay to work more than one job in the UK? And according to Copilot, yes. In the UK, it is legal to work multiple jobs, and many people do so to increase their income or gain experience in different fields. However, there are a few things to consider, and Copilot here has shown me that tax implications is something to think about. Working hours, of course, an applicant or someone working more than one job is going to be, working more hours. Employer contracts, so some of the limitations, some contracts say, you can't share certain IPs, especially if you're working in like software or technology, stuff like that, because you're dealing with like company trade secrets perhaps. And health and well-being, mental health, balancing work life and stuff like that. Do excuse me. So I also want to kind of touch on and kind of explore unemployment rates in the UK, which is sort of a factor as to why some people might want to be quote unquote overemployed / work more than one job at the same time. Who would want to give themselves more work? Well, as of December 24, 2024, that is, to February 25, 2025, the UK unemployment rate stood at 4.4%. So kind of more or less a straight line, I suppose. This marks a slight increase, actually, compared to previous months. The number of unemployed individuals was approximately 1.57, so 1.57 million during this period. I'm going to say that one more time. So the number of unemployed individuals during the period of December 2024 and February 2025 was 1.57 million during that respective period. That's quite a lot of people when you think about it. That's a lot of jobs, a lot of livelihoods, Okay, so why work more than one job? We just kind of explored the idea of combating unemployment. Maybe one reason might be to future-proof yourself with regards to your sort of your employability resilience, right? If someone has two jobs and let's say something happens, like if I was working two, let's say hospitality gigs, I happen to get laid off in one, at least I've got a second job to fall back on, right? Safety net. Some people may choose to be overemployed such that they can increase their income. It's just basic mathematics. You could be earning something like, let's say, hospitality again, because I've done quite a significant amount of hospitality work before in the past. I've done quite a lot of it. So you could be earning, say, let's just say a nice roundable number, £10 an hour, times that by two, boom, you're earning £20 an hour more or less. In a day, you might be working with a talent, I'm sorry, not a talent agency, but rather a hospitality staffing recruitment agency, which I'm going to touch upon this. I'm going to touch upon hospitality because one of the things I want to speak about is overemployment. Overemployment is a topic that's met with such passion, and we have so many different opinions on you know the acceptability of overemployment, right? And such and so forth. This video is not really about that. But what I would like to say is that from my own observation, working in hospitality, for a period of time, I was working under an agency actually. I was recruited via an agency to work in the hospitality field. And it was pretty interesting because give you a little bit of a breakdown. I was given a breakdown, a rundown of the week, what gigs are available. This touches on the gig economy. I was given a rundown of what gigs are available during the week. I was given a text message, can I do any of these gigs? And I just had to say yes or no. And I just show up, maybe just bring the correct uniform. It could be just like black top, black bottoms with black shoes. And I show up, do the work, go home. Clock in, clock out, that kind of thing. And to my slight surprise, some of my colleagues working in these gigs had multiple agencies they were under. So I was there working just under one agency, and it was a sweet deal for me being at that kind of university level because the money I was earning, although the job security it wasn't a permanent basis, it's more like temporary / contract basis. The money was quick in the sense that I didn't have to wait a month. It was like end of the week sort of thing because it is like contract work, right? So when the contract expires, then it doesn't take too much time for the wages to be paid out, right? When you think of it like that. But there were some of my colleagues working under two agencies in this economy of hospitality, the gig economy of hospitality. I remember one particular colleague of mine happened to be a lady, and she was like, I think she had like two different agencies she was working under. So she'll go and show up for, let's say, X amount of hours in one gig, and then maybe in the same day or week she'll show up for X amount of hours for another gig. So effectively, when you think of it in a particular manner, you're essentially multiplying your output. Because yeah, you could argue with one gig you could have the same amount of hours, right? But that's not always necessarily the case, because there's always going to be that ceiling, that roof of hours that a company can offer one person, one worker. But then if you have two different gigs lined up with two different respective parties, then you're essentially doubling that roof maximum capacity, right? And that could be like 20 hours a week. And if you can somehow find the way to work times two that, if you have that capacity, then you're basically doubling your output, you're doubling your wages in a very general sense. Okay, so I was touching on the gig economy, freelance, contract, and hospitality. I would also like to kind of touch upon freelance in the sense of the digital nomadship, right? The nomadic approach to the online digital gig economy. I asked Copilot freelance roles. Please tell me, basically, Copilot freelance roles available in the world right now. I was given quite a list: e-learning and educational content, content writing and production, specialized consulting, such as so forth, game design and development. But then I asked Copilot how many tech gigs are on a particular platform. So generally speaking, on this particular platform, I'm not affiliated with, so disclaimer, I did ask about Fiverr because Fiverr is one of the most popular freelance platforms out there. As of 2025, the platform features over 700 service categories, so that's quite a lot of working gig categories, with technology being one of the most popular fields. 380,000 active freelance sellers, many of whom provide tech services such as web dev, AI consulting, cybersec, which is cybersecurity, and software engineering. Okay, cool. So as we can see, and I've part of my career has been built upon the foundations of tech. As some of you may actually recognize me from some of my other channels, I run William C. Sharp walkthroughs over on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, you might recognize me. I do like tech tutorials, right? I have a list of like over 100 videos dedicated towards coding in C# and .NET, because that's my background. That is my expertise with regards to my technical prowess. .NET. So what were we talking about? We're talking about the gig economy, right? So for some time, I was focusing on the gig economy by Fiverr freelancing. I got a few clients, and the reason I'm bringing this up is that I was serving multiple clients at one point. I think like one or two at the same time. And this is it. This is the thing. It's, again, this notion of, okay, we talk about overemployment, and it's a very popular buzzword, right? But what is this overemployment in the grand scheme of things at the end of the day? It's this idea of maximizing your income stream, but not as, say, a business owner, but as like a worker, right? Because not everyone wants to be entrepreneurial. It's just the way it is. Not everyone wants to, register a company. Some people just want to work, but we want to maximize our income streams, right? We want to future-proof our should I say, our higher, or rather our career resilience, right? So again, if let's say I experience a layoff in one job, at least I have another job lined up. Let's say if I'm working in a gig for a software gig, as I used to do before on Fiverr, then I might have like two at the same time. Let's say one gig gets cancelled for like unknown reasons. At least I got another one to fall back on. So it's about really building my economical fundamentals, my economical strength, right? So these all contribute to why someone may consider being quote unquote overemployed. Let me just have a quick breeze of my notes. So I spoke about hospitality and taking multiple gigs via online freelancing. So key takeaways about overemployment. This is the last category, or the last kind of subtopic here before I wrap up this video. So in the UK, where I reside, it is legal to work more than one job in the UK. Remote is quite viable because obviously you don't have to show up on site. Everything is done digitally. So remote is quite compatible with like the digital nomadic approach of not being let's say if I was a digital nomad, in the sense of I take out contracts to companies, individuals that need software services, and I'm not necessarily tied to one company. I could sort of hop, after a contract is done, I could do multiple contracts at the same time. So remote is quite compatible with overemployment. Hospitality works with this too. Hospitality works with multiple gigs, but I would say, as a disclaimer, for me personally, this is my own personal feeling, my own personal anecdote, I would feel 100, 1,000 times more comfortable getting the permission to do this, getting the green light, at least making sure that overemployment is compatible in my industry, in my field. For me personally, I'm not going to say for other people or whatever. There's different ways you can go about it, but for me, I would just personally feel much more at ease if either my employer knew, or the industry sort of supports overemployment, such as what I observe with multiple hospitality agencies sharing the pool of talent, across the board, as I have observed firsthand, right? And ultimately, being overemployed may depend on someone's individual, people's individual situations. Right, so that's it for this particular video. I just want to shout out towards the next video, which I want to I'm considering titling it, "Not All Job Role Salaries Are Necessarily Equal." Why is it that my colleague at work may earn more or less than me, and we have effectively the same title? I want to dive into this topic because it's quite interesting to consider, the arts and the science of negotiation, especially when it comes to salary. My name is Will, and thanks for hanging out with me, guys. And check out my LinkedIn. It's my name, William City Jimmo. I am on Instagram also. And feel free to DM me if you just want to chat. You want to chat about roles, recruitment, especially in tech and in hospitality, or in your own respective fields. SEKAI Recruitment is my online staffing agency based in the UK, so I'm free to chat. Guys, have a great day and a wonderful new week. It's Sunday today, beginning of the new week. I bid you all a safe day. Take care.